In your experience, there's different types of saunas. So there's the one that I go to in a community here. It's got a big, almost like a stove and rocks on the top, and it gets very, very hot, up to 190 to 220 degrees. And then there's a sauna like an infrared sauna, which there isn't a perception of heat, but after 10, 15, 20 minutes, you're sweating like an absolute pig. Can you explain the difference of how that second type of sauna that you guys have really invested your time in, and why you believe in that one?
Okay. Well, what you just talked about was the difference between convection heat and radiant heat. Mm-hmm. So convection heat is an element, like you talked about, the hot rocks. It could be, the Indian or a Native American sweat lodge. It could be a Swedish sauna, hot rock sauna. It could be a steam room. You've got an element that's heating up ambient air. That ambient air touches your skin, and then eventually that heat penetrates through your skin, and the insulating layer of fat under your skin, which is really important, and then starts doing some stuff inside. So and mostly what that does is it promotes sweating, and sweating pulls poisons out, and so we have to kind of back up a little bit. So that's one thing that you described. And in order for that to work properly, it has to be at really high elevated temperatures, 180 to 220, like you mentioned, Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. And the reason why that is because that layer of fat under your skin, and some of us, like myself, have a little more than others, or fatter layers. So that's designed anatomically to basically insulate the inside, your insides, your organs, and your vital organs from extreme temperatures, extreme heat or extreme cold. Okay? So a convection heat sauna, hot rock sauna, has to fight really hard to get through that layer to get into the body. Mm. Now, conversely, with radiant heat, that's sunlight, that's infrared frequencies. Now you've got a wavelength of sunlight. It's responsible for warming up more than 82% of the planet. It was so important that Einstein did an actual study on understanding the way that sun thermals affect all nature, or all life on the planet as we know it.
Yeah.
That was I think it was in the 40s. And when he did that, he came out with broad statements like, without these sun rays, without infrared frequencies, there'd be no life as we know it. So now radiant heat actually is different. It's a wavelength, and it has different frequencies. In the infrared spectrum, you have near, mid, and far wavelengths. And it's almost like tuning up a radio. Like 101 is rock, and 105 is country, and 107 is R&B, okay? So each wavelength does very specific things with the body and in nature. Now, one of the things that's unique is it's measured in nanometers and microns is the way the measurements are held. And there is a certain nanometer within the infrared spectrum that resonates or harmonizes at the same frequency as the water inside of our bodies. Okay, so that's a big one.
That is a big one.
Yeah. So, which is 940 nanometers. 940 nanometers. And so when you get a ray or a frequency 940, now rather than that insulating layer actually protecting you from these rays coming in, they're harmonizing at the same frequency. So infrared sunlight or infrared frequencies actually penetrate through that insulating layer with ease, because it's almost like it has a key to the door, right? And it comes right through the body. And where's it going? It's seeking the most dense parts of our properties of our body, which is our muscle mass or organ tissue. And so now we've got these beautiful sun rays that are coming directly through our skin, and they start to resonate. Bioresonate is the term, and which is really a vibration. And that vibration starts to break loose the covalent bonds between all the toxins that are being held in our tissues and in our body. And so now, to go even a little deeper, Freddie, our skin is our largest organ. Most people know that, right? And so it's the one that's the most exposed to our environment. That means that it's exposed to all the toxicants in the air, water, and the food that we take. So Under our skin is this layer of fat, and if the front line is our skin, and now you've got toxic air or toxic water that you're swimming in or drinking or whatever, it's coming through that layer of skin, and the first thing it meets is that layer of fat. So that layer of fat actually holds close to 72% of the environmental toxins that our body takes in. Now, how do we get rid of that? So now they're being held there. Some of them get through, some of them, we're ingesting, and then they, like heavy metals and things like that in our foods and waters, and then they get stuck. Like metals are a little different discussion because metals have ionic charges. They're actually like a little magnet on one side, and the body has the opposite charge. So a metal is a little bit harder to get out simply because they're stuck together like two polarized magnets. And so what infrared will do, different than most other ways to get metals out or ways to chelate metals out, mostly chemically, is it actually breaks that covalent bond. And now you've got a metal that's got a charge and the body that's got a charge. And that's why we like to work with certain kinds of binders that also have a charge, magnetic charge, that's a little stronger than the body charge. So when we uncouple that relationship, now the toxic metal cascades down, and the binder will grab it up, and then the body, through various different methods, will expunge it.
Can I jump in and ask one question just so we don't lose it? This radiant versus convection. And I don't mean verse, I just mean different, not to create another polarity for us on the show. The idea that one would be better than the other, it sounds to me intuitively that there's benefits to both that are going to be unique as a form of their delivery method. Just like I could push the convection button in my stove, or I can use a different heating element. It would have a different quality to the food and its taste. Is there any scientific body of literature or studies out there to look at the different effects downstream in the body?
Yes. Well, probably the one that's kind of the most famous one is they actually took an individual and put them in both three environments, hot rock, steam room, and infrared sauna, measured a drop of sweat from that same individual in all three environments, and there was more than 80%. There were more than 80% more toxins in the drop of sweat from the infrared environment.
Wow.
And so all three will pull toxins out of the body. But only one of the three, which is the infrared spectrum, because of that bioresonance, because of the vibration, because of that mechanism I described, will actually unhook and release mobilize all the toxins in the body. That's really a big distinction. So you're going to get a benefit. You're going to get a benefit.